everyone, how are you today? Today I'm gonna talk about linear equation or straight line graphs. So what is that? A linear equation or a linear graph is an equation with this formula. So here we have a y, this equation y equals to a, it's called slope ax plus b. This is a linear equation. So as I mentioned, this is gradient this a is gradient and this one is intercept, right? So how we can draw a line when we have a linear equation? For example, for each line you need just 2 points to draw a line. Let me show how we can draw a line. For example, I have a 1 point here, one x1 and y1. This is the first point. The point is the point 1 equals to x1 and x2. Sorry, x1 and y1. So we have a point here, and the second point is an arbitrary point, just for showing you how we can draw a line. X2 and y2. For example, it's x2 is here and y2 is here. It doesn't matter which point you consider. So this is the first point, and this one is the second point, right? So from this point I can draw this line. You may ask me how we can find the gradient and intercept. For this one there is a formula for finding a gradient and an intercept. I can show you, it's very easy. So I can use g for gradient. So for each g, if you actually consider these 2 points, you have a fraction here, and the numerator of this fraction is just y2 minus y1, which means that the y from the second point and y from the first point upon to x2 minus x1. This one just a gradient. And the intercept b, how we can find the intercept? It's easy. How we can find that? When you find the gradient, you find a here and a for gradient, then you substitute x as a 0, then you can find gradient. What's the meaning? So you need to find every point here, y2 or y1, doesn't matter, equals to gradient is not important because this one is 0, so we don't need that one. 0 multiplied by x plus b. All right? Okay. So let me continue with actually find the x1 and actually x1 I specify x1 and y1. For example, if I consider this one equals to 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Okay, so the gradient equals to, what is the y2 here? y2 is 3 minus y1 is 2 upon x2 is 2 and x1 is 1, so equals to 3 minus 1 is 2 and 2 minus 1 is 1 is 2. The gradient is 2. So here we find out until so far today we find out how we can find the gradient and intercept. So in this case our line equals to y equals, we found the gradient is 2 multiplied by x, right? What about the b? B, it depends on the how much is y, 1 for example. For example, in this case y1 equals to 1, then x is 0. Okay, so this is the first line. So this one is called gradient, this one is called intercept. So this one is positive. So the line is something like this. When x is so we need just find this point. We have this point. x1 equals to 1, y1 equals to 2. The first point. And the second point, x1 is, let me show you here. Sorry, x2 equals to 2. This one is x2. And y2 equals to 3. Second point. So what about intercept? When x is 0, y how much? Y should be 1 here. This is our line. So sometimes we can write down here, this is y equals to 2x plus 1. Okay. When x is actually increasing here, also y is increasing, which means that the gradient is positive. This one is positive here. In some situation, or maybe in another example, something like this, because we know how we can find a linear equation. For example, I can consider y equals to minus 2 upon 3 multiplied by x plus 2. This is another line here, another equation here. So what's the difference between this and that? The previous one actually. This one, this equation has a negative gradient. What's the meaning? Negative gradient, which means that when x is increasing, y decreasing. So let me how we draw this line. or this equation. It doesn't matter which word we can use. Linear equation or linear graphs or a linear function. Because we don't know function, we will explain what is the function in the next sessions. Mentioned before, for each line you just need 2 points, just 2 points. So here, because we have another equation here, doesn't matter which point. For example, P1 when x is 0, so 0 multiplied by any number is 0, so y is 2. And the second point as a P2, notation P2, when, for example, it doesn't matter which number. For example, I can consider 1 for x, and I will get, when x is 1, which means that y equals to minus 2 upon 3 multiplied by 1 plus 2 is equals to how much? Minus 2/3 plus 6 upon 3 equals to how much? 3 here, 6 minus 4 upon 3, which means that one and 1/3. It's not important. 1 and 1/3. So we need just find these 2 points here and connected 2 points to each other. The first point, when x is 0, y equals 2. When x is 1, this is the first point. When x is 1, this is 1, x coordinator, y coordinator. When x is 1, this is 1, y equals to 1 and 1 upon 3. This is 1 and 1 upon 3 is here. So, second one. Then we connect this point, which means that we draw a line which meet these 2 points. Sorry. This is a linear. And this one is the intercept. Or sometimes it's called y-intercept. Alright? Oh, very nice. So far we understand by use of 2 points how we can draw a line. And we need to, the first step is finding the gradient. And the second step is finding y-intercept or intercept. The second scenario is when you have a linear equation, how you can draw the line. Just you need to specify 2 points and connect a line which meets 2 points. Thank you very much for today. See you next time.